Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody to our program this morning. Now, I'm going to wait to get a few more people in here because this is very important. I want to make sure that we get as many people in here as possible. Now, I'm also going to ask all of you, if you are not subscribed, please subscribe to this program. For those of you that have been subscribed to this program, please resubscribe. Check your subscriptions and make sure YouTube has not unsubscribed you. We've noticed quite a few people being unsubscribed in the past 2 to 3 days. That's because of the tenor of our broadcasts, what we're talking about. We're talking about something very heavy here, and I appreciate that. I have never been so serious in my entire life on the air. I've been broadcasting now for 5.5 years. I've talked about emergencies, I've talked about disasters worldwide. Now we're talking about another emergency situation worldwide. Still, we don't have that many people here in the chat. I'm going to still wait to get a few more people in here. Please also give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this program and you enjoy what we're talking about. We have 11 people in here now. I'm going to wait just another few minutes to get some more people in here. This is a very important broadcast. Okay, I'm not going to say anything less than that. This is one of the most important broadcasts that we've ever done. Please, folks, if you can, let other people know about our program today. Bring them in while we're on the air so I can answer questions at the end of this broadcast. We are going to take questions at the end of this broadcast. And I want to make sure we get as much information out to you as possible. That's the entire purpose of why we're on the air this morning. Now, we're going to be talking about drones. Okay? We're definitely going to be talking about drones. Now, a lot of people thought, oh, it's not true. It's not true. Everybody is looking at everything in a bad light. It's not possibly happening. People are seeing things. Okay? Now people are getting very worried. Okay? This Simpson cartoon puts it all together. Bart Simpson is watching these drones fly into New Jersey. Now, we've been broadcasting now for several days talking about these drones. Yes, they've been seen in New Jersey. They've been seen all over the world. They've been seen in New York. And in fact, we had reports Saturday that Saturday night there were so many drones over the airports in New York that they had to close one of the airports in New York. And I believe that may have been either JFK or LaGuardia. Now, also Saturday night, I watched videos from private people that were showing drones all over the place. And yes, they were drones. They were not aircraft. They were drones. Okay? I know exactly what drones look like from long distance point of view. I've been watching for quite some time. I know what a drone is. I even have one of my own drones here. My own drone is small. It's like this big when the wings are extended. The propeller wings are extended. Now, I can fly a drone, okay? I know exactly what's happening. But everybody, you possibly are not ready for what we're going to show you this morning, okay? Now, we've had reports, like I said, from literally all over the world. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Friday night. Drone incursions closed Wright-Patterson Air Force Base over in Ohio. An incredible story. Wright-Patterson closed. Okay? This is Ramstein Air Force Base. Drones were spotted flying over a major U.S. Air Force base in Germany earlier this month. Now, this is a good story. Okay? This is a very excellent story about what's actually going on. The aircraft flew over a U.S. Air Force base at Ramstein, Germany. A security source told Reuters that German authorities have not traced the operators of the drones, but ruled out that they were operated by amateurs. Okay? German authorities have ruled out that these drones were operated by amateurs. This is at This is Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany. These drones are literally all over the world now. Now, one other story here. This comes from here in the United States. Joint Air Force Base McGuire, over by Dover, okay? Now, this is a very important story here. This is an agreement, okay? An agreement opens a test corridor stretching from Joint Base McGuire, Dixon Lakehurst in Dover, linking New Jersey's Aviation Innovation Hub in Atlantic County, EGG Harbor Township, New Jersey. This came out on June 2nd. Okay? An agreement to create a test evaluation corridor for the development of uncrewed aerial systems, UAS, an automated advanced air mobility AAM technology was recently signed by officials representing U.S. Transportation Command, the Air Mobility Command, AMC, the National Aerospace Research and Technology Park, NORTEP, and the Atlantic County Economic Alliance. Okay? This means the government is well aware of what's going on. This means the government is well aware of what's going on. Last night, I played a video of a high-ranking government official. Okay? Now, many of you already know this official very well. It's the head of the Democrat Party over in the Senate. Okay? We talked about him. Those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, after this program is over, go to our program from last night. We played the senator talking about what's going on. He had one of the drones similar to what I have in his hands. He also had an 8-ball. One of those old 8-balls from about 30, 40 years ago. He said, you can't get an answer from an 8-ball. And he was referring to himself. Okay? It's incredible what this man says. This man is a U.S. senator. And he's claiming that nothing's going on. Or he's not aware of it. It's a foolish thing to say. The government is fully aware of what's happening. The FBI is denying it's happening. Our own FBI is denying what's happening. Now, we've been watching this for quite some time. I want to put up another image here, if you'll let me here, just for a second. I thought this was already on my broadcast software, or I wouldn't be doing it right now. But I want you to see this. Okay? This is another photograph of another supposedly experimental drone aircraft that's been given to the U.S. Navy. Okay? This is what they call a PX-4. This drone was being flown a year ago as test flights all over the United States and testing for the Navy. This is another reason that I believe that the United States government knows exactly what's going on. This is a PX-4 aircraft. Okay? It's a drone. Its wingspan is about 30 feet wide. The wings can go forward like this. They can go backward. It's a sweep wing aircraft. Sweep wing aircraft. As you notice, the wings are face up at this point in time. This is as this drone aircraft is lifting off the ground. After it gets off the ground, then those rotors go like this. The wings rotate flat back like this, and the rotors are now facing forward, and they're forcing the aircraft forward just as if it was propeller driven. That's exactly what this aircraft is. It's propeller driven. Each and every one of these aircraft are propeller driven. Now, and I'm calling it an aircraft because it's exactly what it is. Yes, it is a drone aircraft. I want to make that perfectly clear. This is a drone aircraft. Sheila Diamond says I'm rambling. Get to the point. I am not rambling. I'm trying to give you all the information you need so you have the information. Okay? I'm not rambling. If you think I'm rambling, go away. We don't need you here. And you don't need us. I am not rambling. I know exactly what I'm talking about. Superman Beats is here in the chat saying it's holograms, everybody. No, it's not. It's absolutely not holograms at all. If you think it's holograms, go watch Star Trek. Okay? It's not holograms at all. Right? Darlene is saying, I think Biden and Obama are going to pull a fast one before January 20th. You're right. But please, guys, I want you to pay attention to what we're saying here. Don't drift off and talk about politics right now. Yes, this is the ultimate political stunt. But I'm not talking about Biden and Obama right now. Yes, they are involved. Yes, they are involved. I believe Obama's behind part of this. Okay? He knows about it. So does Biden. Although Biden, we have no clue who's even running the government right now because Biden is so inept because he's elderly. I'm not talking about Biden the politician necessarily. But Biden the person is too elderly to know what's going on right now. His mind's not about him. Okay? I want to advise my mods here. Please, folks, if you see any trolls here, get rid of them. Ban them. Get rid of the trolls. This is very important. I'm not giving you any information that isn't important. Everything here is important. Now, I want to play for you a video from last night in San Diego County and South Orange County in Temecula area, again last night. This is KFMB San Diego.
New tonight, after a wave of mysterious drone sightings in New Jersey, people are concerned and demanding answers, but the government isn't saying much. Now similar sightings are being reported here in San Diego and across Southern California. CBS 8's Brian White has the details.
This is over my house right now. What is that?
It's a question puzzling New Jersey residents looking up at the sky.
They're just pacing back and forth, going very slow.
Since last month, dozens of drones mysteriously hovering in the Jersey skies at night. Olivia DiMatteo owns a coffee shop near where the drones have been spotted.
They are the size of small cars, almost like a Mini Cooper or a Ford Escape size.
There is a bunch of red lights floating in the sky.
This video was taken by archaeologist Colin Rambo a couple weeks ago in Lemon Grove.
This is in Lemon Grove, California, which is over in San Diego County, just east of downtown San Diego. They have lights on them, guys. They have lights on them. They have authorized these aircraft drones to fly at night. They have navigation lights. These drones have navigation lights. This means they are in complete concurrence with FAA guidelines, Federal Aviation Administration guidelines. Okay? Now, folks, if these aircraft are in and are in concurrence with FAA guidelines means that the government knows about them. The government knows about them. Now, that is one of the reasons that I am putting this information out. This is again proof that the government knows about it. Okay, let's continue here.
Grove.
I was driving down the street, just right down the street from my house here, and I pulled my car over because I saw what looked like a fleet of glowing red orbs.
Last night, someone called our CBS 8 newsroom with reports of a large drone sighting above the SR 125 freeway.
There are drones all over the sky.
And this video was taken 3 nights ago in Temecula.
We eventually saw one
Temecula is in southern Orange County, just north of San Diego County boundaries.
really fairly close, and it was just about the size of a car. We were at some points right under them, and there was no noise at all.
Music.
Okay, this man is a record maker in Los Angeles.
Artist and producer It's Nomad Music said these didn't seem like regular planes or helicopters.
They'll be going just straight one direction, and then all of a sudden they'll just zigzag and then keep going, or turn around, or they just break really quick.
I reached out to the Riverside County Sheriff's Office. They confirmed the drones were not law enforcement's, and a spokesperson for Camp Pendleton told me they're aware of recent drone activity in surrounding communities, but that, quote, no military unmanned aerial systems training or activity has occurred during the time or place in question. Meanwhile, in Lemma Grove, looking back, Colin thinks what he saw could have been paper lanterns in the air, but he's not sure.
With everything that's going on in the news, all these sightings, just please look up at night, you know? The more we look up, the more chances we'll have to see what's out there.
Brian White, CBS 8.
Okay, that's
Feeling lonely and looking for a significant...
that was News 8 in San Diego. Okay? These are all over the place. These are literally all over the place. Now I want to show you one more picture. I believe I still have it here on my software. But this is another photograph from Glenn Beck this morning. Okay? Glenn Beck's program this morning. This comes from Channel 7 in Los Angeles. Another picture out of Channel 7 in LA. This they termed a plasma ball. A plasma ball, guys. Okay? In the middle of it, it appears to be a drone. But the United States government has already experimented with plasma balls. Okay? That's why I'm showing it here. Again, this was on Glenn Beck's program this morning. All right? Now I have more information here. I've given you information so far to build up the credibility of what I'm saying. But I have new video, new evidence of what's going on. I want to bring up a video from a gentleman who builds drones professionally for the U.S. government. This is John Ferguson. This is John Ferguson. I will let him explain his own issues here.
Get someone, but date.
Just a second here.
Hey everyone, my name is John Ferguson. I'm the CEO of Saxon Aerospace here in Wichita, Kansas. I'm not normally a TikTok kind of a guy. I like watching this stuff every once in a while. But I'm a manufacturer of unmanned aircraft, military grade unmanned aircraft, as you can see one of my systems here. There's all of these mysterious drones going on. off the East Coast, and as a professional, as a subject matter expert, I wanted to give you all my opinion on what I think could be going on with these drones. I don't particularly believe that these have a nefarious intent. I could be wrong, but I want to give you the truth and what I believe. It's my own opinion, and I've not bounced this off of anybody, so, you know, if you think it's bullshit, whatever, that's cool. You know, I don't want to spread misinformation, as we know that there's a lot of that going around. But anyway, back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program, and there were, with Russia, there were countless nuclear missiles that were disarmed and disposed of. Well, there were over 80, I believe. There were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in Ukraine that came up missing. Okay, we don't know where they are. Maybe somebody does, but nobody really knows where these are. And I speak with some pretty high-level government officials on this stuff, and it seems as though that is the case. So I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed, about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched this warhead that was left over from Ukraine. And he knew that that thing was headed towards the United States. Okay? That is a very serious deal. And everyone knows that the United States government, this administration, is pushing to get into a war with Russia. We all know that. We all feel it. We all see it. Okay? Well, back up a few years. Do y'all remember when those drones were mysteriously flying across the Interstate 70 corridor from Colorado up into Nebraska, down here into Kansas, and out into Missouri? Well, it was believed that those drones were looking for radioactive material because there had been some material that came up missing here in the United States, and they felt like it was high probability that the nuclear or the radioactive material would be taken along the Interstate 70 corridor heading east or west or south. So from what we understand, they were out there trying to find this radioactive material. Now, drones, they have no reason to be in the air at night, unless you're doing some type of ISR work, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, looking for bad guys, or looking for a victim, a search and rescue victim, or law enforcement, or some type of military project, right? There's no reason for a drone to be flying at night, really, okay? Because they don't see shit. So, unless you have thermal optics, drones really don't see stuff. You need to do mapping during the day. If you're going to do farming stuff, you mostly do it during the day. The only reason why you would ever fly an aircraft, an unmanned aircraft at night, is if you're looking for something, whether it be a person or trying to smell gas. We have methane gas detection systems that can detect gas leaks in pipelines. You really wouldn't use thermal optics for trying to find gas leaks, just simply because the only way you're actually going to find a gas leak with thermal optics is if the gas leak is aggressive enough that it has a difference in temperature. Because thermal imaging, it creates a digital image based off of the temperature variance. So whatever is different in temperature, it creates an image. Gas, usually gas leaks so slow that it goes quickly into ambient, before you can even see it. So we have special sensors that can detect gas leaks. We also have special sensors that can detect radioactive material. So With this gentleman that I had spoken with, who was trying to raise the alarm to try to get somebody in the government to say, hey, we need to work together to go try to find this nuclear warhead, none of that ever happened. They knew that warhead was on its way to the United States. That's all that ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. This government did not do anything at all to help this gentleman raise the alarm and raise awareness that there is a very deadly weapon on its way to the United States. It's out there. Nobody knows where it's at now. It left Europe, now it's gone. So my guess, my own guess, is that these drones are not nefarious in intent. If they are, they are, but I doubt it. But if they are drones, the only reason why they would be flying, and flying that low, is because they're trying to smell something on the ground. That's it. There's no other reason for a drone to be flying in the air other than to piss a bunch of people off at night. That's it. So, my belief is they're trying to smell something on the ground. Gas leaks, radioactive material, whatever. So, and do I think that that they're coming up out of the ocean? No, I don't think so. Drones that are multi-copter type drones, not the fixed wing aircraft that look like regular airplanes, but the multi-copters, they only have so much battery life. They have hybrid versions that are gas powered with electric, but those can still only fly for a short period of time. There's no way in hell that any drone is going to go miles off the coast as a multi-copter and fly into the interior of the United States and do a bunch of work and then turn around and fly back. It's just physics will not allow that to happen. So these drones, I believe, are launched from a location that nobody knows, but I do believe that they're flying low enough that they're just trying to sniff the ground and try to find something. So again, I hate to be a pessimist or a guy that thinks directly to the negative. However, I know as a professional, I mean, we build professional stuff for the military. I believe that they're actually out there trying to smell something that's very important. So anyway, let me know what you think of this video. I'm not trying to gaslight. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just trying to let people know that this is a serious deal. It's only serious for what the potential could be, or for what the potential is. There's a lot of them out there. They're flying all over. They're flying low. They're flying at night. There's no reason for it other than to smell something. So anyway, God bless. I hope you all have a wonderful Merry Christmas, and let me know what you think of the video.
Okay, I have two other videos by Mr. Ferguson. Again, he's with Saxon Technologies. He builds drones for the government. He builds drones for the military. He's very credible. Okay? Now, again, let me give you some background on this. Back during the 1980s, President Reagan took down the Berlin Wall. President Reagan also negotiated arms control agreements with Russia. During that time period, Ukraine had nuclear weapons in its country. The country of Ukraine had nuclear weapons within the country. Now, at this point in time, those weapons have been taken out of Ukraine because Russia wanted them back. 80 warheads were in Ukraine. Now those weapons have been removed. There is information that the government has that those warheads are now in the United States. That is why Mr. Ferguson was talking about the drones over Colorado, over Nebraska, out the I-70 corridor, all the way out to the East Coast, Missouri included. Okay? That entire corridor had drones flying. And drones also flying to the south, along the Interstate I-20 corridor from Denver to Texas. Okay? They believe these warheads are in the country. And I believe they're looking for them. Okay? Dr. Jamin's place says November 9th, 1989. Okay? The Berlin Wall fell. Now, I want to give you this information because I believe it's very important, and I believe there's been a government cover-up. Okay? I'm just not putting this out there for hell's bells. Okay? I don't do that. I do not try to raise speculation of what's going on. I believe what's going on is actually a government cover-up. Let's watch Mr. Ferguson's second video. Again, this is his drone assessment part 2.
Okay, so I'm picking up on the second video here. The FAA requires all unmanned aircraft to fly, that are flying at night, to have nav lights. These nav lights are standard nav lights like you would see on any other aircraft, right? It tells you, if you can't see the orientation of the aircraft, then you can see the nav lights and you can determine your orientation of the aircraft by watching these nav lights. But again, the fact that these unmanned systems are using nav lights means that they're complying with FAA regulations, right? So I'll show you what these nav lights look like. But again, they're complying with FAA regulations. They seem to be flying no higher than, say, 400 feet, which the FAA requires any unmanned aircraft with a standard authorization to fly no higher than 400 feet. That's the law. Those are the rules. And if you violate that, then you pretty much stand the risk of getting your license taken away. All drone operators commercially have to have an FAA Part 107. It's very simple to get. You can go on YouTube and type in FAA 107 study course, and you can go get your go pay $150 and get your drone license, and you can do this in less than a week, right? So again, they seem to be following the FAA regulations. Okay, so I'm going to take this aircraft here that I showed you earlier, and I'm going to put the battery in it.
Again, Mr. Ferguson manufactures these drones.
So you can see here that we have standard drone lights, right? Those are the nav lights, and if you're going to fly at night, you have to see those aircraft. You have to see those lights flying, or you have to see those lights from roughly 3 miles. So now we're going to go to the communication system. The communication system is very complex. I don't believe that they're flying from vessels offshore, because there's only a few things that you can do with your communications. With a standard radio link, which is C2 and video, command and control and video link, your antennas are only going to allow you to fly so far, okay? So I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to try to do this here. But I'm going to draw a line here, and here you are, okay? Now, this area here is where your drone's going to fly, and that's with a standard antenna that is kind of directional, moving this way. The other thing we have is a dipole antenna, and that's just a straight up antenna. It kind of just looks like this, You probably have seen them. But they send out a signal like this. And we're using about 1 watt of power, okay? So with 1 watt of power, with a dipole antenna that sends out a signal of 360 degrees, with 1 watt of power, you may only get, maybe 1,000 yards, or maybe 2,000 yards, So you're not going to get very far. But if you go with a directional antenna and you look at like a pie, like this is half of the pie, and your drone's flying out here, okay, you're taking that 1 watt of power and you're sending it out this way. You may be able to fly here, and that will give you maybe a mile, maybe more than a mile, okay? So having the vessel or the drones flying off miles off the coast is not feasible. The second thing is you have to look at your flight time. You have drones that have gas, like the multicopters, like the one I showed you. They have gas engines that push electric motors. They're called hybrid systems. Still they may only get really roughly 90 minutes of flight time, okay? So now, the other thing you can do with your antennas is here you are. You can go at a 45 degree, okay? You're still pushing 1 watt of power. That means that you're not wasting all your power over here, but you're pushing all of that power this way. So this could be a range of 10 miles that you could fly, okay? So if you're flying out 10 miles, what's the difference between here and here? That could be 15 miles or 10 miles, we don't know, right? So again, you're only at 10 to 15, maybe 20 miles tops, okay? So the next thing that you can do is you can use a tracking system. So wherever the drone flies, the antenna will lock onto the drone, and you're pushing a small beam with 1 watt of power. Now you could go to 2 watts of power, but now you're starting to get into FCC regulations, right? You actually have to have authorization to fly an aircraft using radios with 2 watts of power. So if your drone is here and you fly out, you might be able to go 100 miles. But the tracking system has to track, so wherever the aircraft goes, right? Wherever the aircraft goes, that antenna is going to track that drone. And if you lose lock on that aircraft, then the aircraft has a safety feature that will allow it to come back. So it's a fail-safe, right? Most drone people know this stuff. So again, there's a lot of things that are happening with these drones that prove that they are not nefarious in intent. Now, as far as gas is concerned and emitting gas or shooting at stuff, I've seen some of those videos, and that doesn't work for me, because if they're shooting any type of projectile, if they're launching any type of projectile off of an unmanned aircraft, that puts you right up there with Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein, right, here in the United States. That's against the law, and you'll go to jail. Now, drones that are, putting off this gas, well, you have to have a special license to do that anyway, right? So it's highly unlikely that they're flying at that altitude and off-gassing this material, whatever it may be. But also, gas or chemicals, water or fuel, they weigh about 6 to 8 pounds a gallon. And so if you have any type of gas that the aircraft is putting off, then your flight time is significantly going to be reduced, because you don't have enough power to keep the aircraft in the air long enough to travel the distance that it takes to go from offshore to the inside of the United States, right? So again, and then you have to take the wind in consideration. And these drones are flying at night for cover, but also it's less windy at night. So, again, a lot of this stuff isn't making sense to me. I don't believe, again, that these drones have a nefarious intent. I believe they're looking for something, because that's the only thing they can do at night. You can't see shit when you're flying a drone at night using a standard camera. Again, you could do agricultural type stuff, but you would do that during the day. So, and typically, if you're going to do methane gas detection, you typically do that during the day because you want to see what you're flying into. So, you know, again, none of this stuff makes any sense to me. And, you know, me taking the time to explain all of this to you is very important for me because I believe that, you know, we are absolutely never going to be told the truth. If you knew what was going on around the world, you would be shocked and you'd be angry. So I'm going to pause this and then start another video. So I'll see you on the third video.
Okay. We're going to show you the third video in just a minute. Now, I want to go back and answer Carol's question here. Okay? I think Carol had a valid issue that we need to talk about. The question was, so why did they make us wait and worry and wonder what was going on? Okay? That's because the government doesn't give a flying rat's frosty keister about you and I. They don't give a flying rat's frosty keister. Now, they might say they do. Okay? They didn't want to worry anybody. Okay? Again, let's go back to that situation back from way back in 1989 when there were warheads that were shipped out of Ukraine that Ukraine did not want Russia to have back. And yes, Russia asked for those weapons back about a year or so ago. That's one of the reasons that Putin attacked Ukraine, to get those warheads back. He's not going to get them back. There is some school of thought that says those weapons are here in the United States. But now, some of those suitcase nukes have come up missing. And that's why they've been flying drones over the United States to look for them. Look for signatures. I'm going to show you a map in a few minutes to tell you more about that.
Okay, here we are in video number 3. I pulled up some videos and photos to just share with you. So this first video, I want to show you what thermal imaging looks like on one of our aircraft. And again, you can just kind of get an idea of why I'm saying what I'm saying, but here you go. So right up here is the thermal, and then right here is your standard image. So kind of hard to see, but you can see that we're zooming in. So there's not a lot that you can see, you know. So again, sorry if I'm not doing a very good job of showing, you know, pointing the camera. Here's another video. You can see the aircraft here, and then you can see what the aircraft sees here. So again, it's difficult, and I'll show you our nav lights. So you can see that's our aircraft. So you might be able to see how the aircraft is just kind of hovering there, and then we're able to move the aircraft along. We can rotate, and then we can fly. And this aircraft, our Inspector, is one of the fastest aircraft in the market, and this thing will top out at about 70 miles an hour. So the other thing is that
70 miles an hour. Okay? Let me go back to that program that I showed you on Saturday. Okay? There was a state senator in New Jersey. Actually, he wasn't a state senator. He was a U.S. senator from New Jersey who is supposed to be introducing a bill in the U.S. Senate to get legislation put forward to make sure the public is aware and told what's going on. Okay? At that point in time, he also introduced a sheriff's deputy, whose deputy, or not sheriff's deputy, he was a sheriff from New Jersey, who said that his deputies have access to drones. And the sheriff's drones fly about 40 miles an hour. The sheriff's drones can't go more than about a mile up above the surface. Some of these drones are doing 60,000 feet high. 60,000 feet high. 30 to 60,000 feet high. Let's continue here.
There, on the previous video, I had some people kind of doubting my credibility. And I'm going to show you some of this stuff, not that I really need to, but I'm doing it just because I want to, just establish my credibility right out of the bat here, okay? Right out of the cage. So, again, I've been fortunate enough, to be politically active. I'm running for office in 26, and I've been able to meet with presidents, generals, kings, queens, governors, and ministers, around the world. And so this is in Sudan. I'll show you this. So that's Matk, and of course that's me right there. So, and then this is just recently, this is the president of Burundi, and that's myself. So, again, for those that have, cast any doubt on my credibility and what I do, I'm a factual type of a person, and I'm the guy that will say what others will not say. Sometimes it's to my detriment, but whatever. At least you all know the truth. And so when I run for office in 26 and I do win, I want to do something that that's not really done in office today and have not been done in several decades, and that's just keep everybody informed of what the hell's going on. There's a lot of nefarious activity going on around the world, and if y'all knew about it, you would not be happy. You would not stand for what is happening to us. So me sharing this video, I'm sure I'm going to get a visit, which is fine because I work with a lot of the law enforcement folks anyway, and they know who I am. They know what I do. So I'm here to tell you guys the best assessment that I possibly can. I'm not saying what I'm telling you is absolutely true, meaning that this is just what I see. This is my assessment, right? So if it's not the case, then good for us, right? So again, please share these videos. Let's let everybody out there know how the aircraft work so that you can understand more. When you see the videos, you'll understand more what's actually happening. So again, aircraft shouldn't be flying at night unless you've got a job to do, and that's looking for shit, okay? So gas, gas leaks, people, military operations, police operations, etc. Okay? They should not be flying at night unless they're providing security or looking for stuff. Okay? Number 2, thermal imaging. Thermal imaging is really about the only way you're really going to see any type of source of anything. Now, using thermal imaging doesn't necessarily mean you can see a gas leak, because remember, thermal imaging measures the variance between temperatures and creates a digital image. Gas, when it leaks out of a pipeline, if it's a slow leak, it will go directly to ambient and you won't really be able to see the gas. That's why we don't use thermal imaging to find gas leaks. We use methane gas detection systems, right? So
So thermal is if you're looking for hot spots. Okay? The communications, the range of the communications. You got to think about that. You got to think about your flight duration, battery versus gas. Gas, you're always going to get much longer flight durations. I can take an aircraft, a fixed-wing aircraft, put batteries in it, get 2 hours of flight time. I can put fuel in it and get 18 hours of flight time. So, that's kind of the difference. But multi-copters typically do not have gas-powered engines. They're out there, and they work fairly well, but they're not going out miles out from the ocean and going inside the United States. It just doesn't work that way. Certain laws of physics that you cannot overcome. So, anyway, I hope this has been educational. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your comments. And, if you don't have anything good to say, you stick it in your ass. This is my assessment, right? So, but either way, even if you don't agree with me, I'd like to hear your comments. So, you all have a blessed weekend. Have a great day. And I hope you all have a Merry Christmas coming up. So, thank you.
Okay? That's what he said. And he said, you don't have to agree with me. Okay? You also don't have to agree with everything I say. I'm just putting this out there for everybody's education. Because right now the government isn't saying diddly squat. Okay? They're not going to tell us. They're not going to tell us that a nuclear warhead is someplace. Okay? They're not going to tell us that there's a briefcase missing. Okay? Layla's saying here, clearly the range for military drones must be greater than civilian drones. Yes, that's the case. Like I said, there have been drone sightings at 60,000 feet. There have been drone sightings at 30,000 feet, which is where the commercial aircraft are. And in fact, there was one of these drones that was at 30,000 feet, and a United plane pilot caught it on video. Okay? The United plane pilot caught it on video at 30,000 feet. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that this is a military drone. But what I am saying is that PX-4 that I showed you earlier, this PX-4 aircraft that was put together for the U.S. Navy and flying off Navy ships out to sea. Okay? Notice the markings on this aircraft. The markings on the aircraft have to be there by law. Each and every one of these drones has markings, FAA markings, to show that it's an FAA sanctioned vehicle. Okay? Each one of them has separate FAA markings, just like any other aircraft. Okay? The military has access to this. And yes, this could be a military aircraft. They're searching possibly for a warhead or a briefcase nuke. Okay? Arnold Smith says you're thinking about this in very possible reasoning when you consider the uptick in earthquakes on the West Coast and energy transference through the craton boundaries. I totally agree, Arnold. I totally agree. Now, we can talk about earthquakes later on this evening. In fact, that's exactly what I want to do. Tonight's program, just after 6 p.m., is going to talk mostly about earthquakes, but we are also going to review the information that I just gave you. Okay? Please understand this. My buddy George Rashad from California, he says elevated radiation in New York and New Jersey. And George, you're absolutely right. Let me show you another picture here that I have here on my hard drive that I'm going to share with you right now. It's a map of the New York, Jersey area. Right here. Okay? See these red dots? Guess what these red dots are? These red dots are concentration of radiation particles. Concentration of radiation particles. Look where they're at. Okay? Look at this, the southern part or the southeastern part of New York. Long Island. Long Island there. And then we go north of the George Washington Bridge. Okay? Now, let's look at this. It says North Berrien. Okay? There's another concentration of nuclear particles. There's one just across the bridge from the George Washington Bridge on the New Jersey side. Okay? These green spots here, these are very low radiation readings that have been picked up by the aircraft. But these 4 red spots are very interesting, or the government is very interested in what's going on here in New York and New Jersey. This is a real-time radiation world map. Okay? I wanted to keep this map until the very end to show you what's going on. Okay? I really believe what this gentleman said, that these drones are looking for nuclear radiation. Okay? Dr. Jamin's Place says it fits the motive. And you're absolutely right. It does fit the motive here. Arnold Smith has said Hardknack Farms has reported very strange noises and vibrations in Oklahoma. Again, I will talk about those earthquakes later on this evening. I'm trying to explain what's going on with these drones. Everybody's all excited. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But what I'm showing you here is the latest information. Okay? Leia's saying, interesting radiation map. So is this radiation info provided by drones then? Yes. Yes, it is. This is the other reason I believe it's the radiation that they're looking at. Okay? Yes, the drones are flying all over the country. They're looking for nuclear radiation. Okay? Now, what happened about 2 weeks ago when Russia first started going full bore launching missiles at Ukraine? I was on the air then. Russia was launching these long-range nuclear, or excuse me, they weren't nuclear, launching these long-range missiles at Ukraine. But the United States didn't understand what they were. We knew there were long-range missiles headed for Ukraine. But what did the United States do? We launched 3 command and control aircraft. One from the East Coast over by Andrews Air Force Base in Washington. Another was launched from Tinker Air Force Base that headed south towards the Gulf of Mexico. Another command and control aircraft was launched from Moffett Field in California. What else did they launch? They also launched a nuclear sniffer aircraft from Moffett Field in California. That sniffer and the command and control aircraft were in the air for 18 hours. Because again, they were sniffing for radiation coming from Ukraine. We were not sure what was going on in Ukraine. We weren't sure what Russia had launched at Ukraine, and we still aren't. But so far, we have no reason to believe that Russia launched nuclear weapons at Ukraine. But again, Putin is still threatening to launch nuclear weapons at Ukraine and U.S. and NATO forces in Ukraine at the Ukraine-Russian border. Putin doesn't like our forces being there. Those of you that don't understand, the United States Air Force has an Air Force base in Poland. Putin doesn't like that. He's also threatened to destroy that Air Force base in Poland. He doesn't like it. Now, the CAC sniffer drones, the command and control aircraft and the sniffer drones can communicate. You're absolutely right, they can communicate. But I think we need to be patient for a short time further until the United States government takes their head out of their butt and tells us what's going on. I think we need to keep our act together for at least a short while until President Trump gets in office. Raymond Roy Sr. saying they're not going to tell us where they're coming from, the RADs. Not necessarily. But again, that real-time radiation map comes from those drone sightings. Okay? 4 different places around New York where high radiation readings are. And I'm talking 300 rads or higher. I believe it was 300 rads or higher, if I'm not mistaken. But I think we need to be patient for a little while longer to give President Trump time to get in office. Now, why am I saying that? Because the other day on Saturday when I was on the air, President Trump made it very clear what he wanted to have done. President Trump made it very clear what he would do. Let me show you this again. Okay? And President Trump has reiterated this yesterday. Mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this be really happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know. And now. Otherwise, shoot them down. This went out on Truth Social. Mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know and now. Otherwise, shoot them down. This is President Trump. President Trump is very aware of everything going on. President Trump also receives briefings. And if they are not talking about it, there's a reason why. They don't want President Trump or anybody else to know what's happening. On Saturday, President Trump was not told that. Otherwise, he would not have issued this message. He would not have issued that message. Dr. Jamin's place is saying the drone sightings in Europe are worse. Yes, I've been told that. But again, at the beginning of this program, I showed you drone sightings at Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany. Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany. Let me pull up that slide again. Right there. They're a little bit everywhere, aren't they? They absolutely are. And over in Ohio, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base had to be closed down because of these drone sightings. And Saturday night, I saw a picture of drones flying over either LaGuardia or JFK, I'm not sure, but I'm also not allowed to show that picture or the video. Okay? And I can't take full credibility for that video either. I don't know whether it's true or not. And I refuse, I absolutely refuse to put up information that I cannot vet. I have to be able to vet it to make sure it's true, or it's not going on my air. Surgery is asking how many of those nuclear cases or nuclear warheads are they missing. Now this number may startle you. This number may very well concern you greatly. They're missing 80 nuclear warheads. They are missing 80 nuclear warheads. I believe that's why they have so many drones out. Okay? I believe that's why we have so many drones out. But again, I question Joe Biden. I question that idiot behind him, Obama, Obama is the puppeteer that's controlling what Biden says or does. And yet, Biden's not talking. Who's in charge of this country? I believe Biden is so inept because he can't control himself. He's mentally incapable. He's mentally incapable of even carrying on a sentence. So who's controlling this country? It's Obama. Mark Stolte says it's a Truman Show. You're right. You're absolutely correct. It's a Truman Show. Now, on the Glenn Beck Show, I showed you a slide from Glenn Beck's show earlier. On Glenn Beck's show, they basically said the same thing I'm telling you. Okay? Glenn Beck and Pat Gray and Glenn Beck's other sidekick, I can't remember his name right now, but they were carrying on and kind of joking around. But they were serious. They're trying to joke around about it, but they are serious about it as well. Glenn Beck is very serious. Glenn Beck believes the same thing I do. That they're not telling us what's happening. Purposely not telling us what's happening. We have a president that's not able to control himself. We have a president in charge that's not in charge. And the vice president has not been seen since November 5th. We were told that she went on vacation with her husband for 2 weeks, but she has not been seen in public since. Okay? The Vice President of the United States is supposed to be the one taking over if the President becomes inept. Now there is a movie out from about 20 years ago, or maybe even longer than that. It's called The President. In that movie, the President of the United States had a heart attack. And they were keeping him under sedation in a back room of the White House. Okay? Or in a tunnel of the White House. And his wife was notified of what was happening. And she agreed with that president's aides During that movie, she agreed with the president's aides to keep it quiet so the American people would not really know what's going on. But at the same time in that movie, the aides to the president found someone that looked like the president. And they brought him into the White House. The Secret Service brought him into the White House. And the Secret Service was in on this whole thing. And they even trained this man who looked like the president to talk like the president, to act like the president, and carrying on like the president. He also got briefings just as Biden or any other president ever has, including President Trump. He knew what was going on. And then towards the end of the movie, they decided, well, the man who they brought in to pose as the president said he'd had enough and he was going to go public. So the presidential aides decided at the time, it's time to come clean and tell the American public exactly what happened. So it was a time of the State of the Union. And the man who was posing as President of the United States had a briefcase he took to the State of the Union with him. It was a big briefcase similar to what I used to have in the 1970s. A great big briefcase about this long. Okay? The briefcase was also this thick. And the briefcase contained files of the president's enemies. And during the State of the Union, that fake president was pulling out those files and implicating people in the Senate and the House of Representatives of wrongful doing, crimes against the country. And right before they were to grab him off the stage, he faked a heart attack during his State of the Union speech. And they rushed him off to Bethesda, to the military hospital Bethesda. They rushed him out. But at the same time, they had secretly, covertly, taken the real president out of the tunnel beneath the White House and taken him to Bethesda as well. Then they changed out the bodies. The fake president they released out of the back of the hospital, and he went on his way. The real president actually died in the hospital, and they held a state funeral for him within the days after that. But folks, I believe what's going on with Biden is real. They're keeping him sedated, or they're keeping him in a place where he's not visible to the public, because he's not physically able to be there and do the things that the president should do. And the administration has gotten to the point where they don't trust Kamala. So they're keeping her hidden. So now we have two state people. We have two people at the head of the United States that aren't the head. It's like the tail wagging the dog movie. Remember that? Again, about the presidency of the United States and the tail wagging the dog? The administrative aides to the president wagging the dog? Absolutely. Okay? I believe that's what's going on behind the scenes. I believe that's what's going on behind the scenes. Now, I'm going to ask you all before you leave today to make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I'm also asking you for any questions that you might have. I don't want anybody to leave here today without getting your questions answered. Now, I used to work politics. I'm very familiar with politics. I was an aide to the to the congressman from San Diego, Ron Packard, back in the day. I'm very familiar with politics. I was even going to run for a mayor of the city that I used to live in, but at that point in time, my ex-wife asked for a divorce, and I did, because of everything that was going on with that divorce, I didn't want that ruining my chance to run for mayor of the city, and so I backed out. I probably would have become mayor of that city had it not been for that divorce. But I'm very familiar with what's going on behind the scenes. What I believe is going on behind the scenes. We do not have an administration that's really in power. The people behind the scenes are running the United States right now. Okay? Guitar Mom says in all her years, always the losing team would work toward healing, rebuilding their platform. Not this time. Not this team. It'll be a cold day in hell before the Democrat Party ever runs this country again. Schumer, like I said it earlier in this broadcast, Senator Schumer, who is head of the Senate, he looked like a stupid fool during yesterday's Senate briefing. He looked like a stupid fool. Linda Covington says, so who's running the government? I believe Biden's aides and President Obama are running the government right now. And I believe Obama is trying to do his level best to make sure that Trump is not put in as president. I believe Obama is going to do his level best to make sure that President Trump is not there on Inauguration Day, or is even able to take control of the government on Inauguration Day if he makes it that way. I pray he is. I pray President Trump is inaugurated as the 47th President of the United States. Okay? We need him in. We need him in. We don't need another Democrat. Someone here in the chat saying 2029 Democrat win. No, that will never happen. The Democrat Party is in such disarray that the Democrats probably will not have another chance for leadership in this government for 20, 30 years. What they've done during this past election was totally unheard of and also illegal. And President Trump knows who has been doing it. President Trump also knows where the bodies are buried. That's why I believe Obama and the other people behind Biden are going to try to stop President Trump. Linda Covington says, pray for the Trump family. I totally agree with that. Yes, I believe we need to pray for President Trump's family, because the Democrat Party doesn't like Trump, because he will spill the beans. He will definitely spill the beans. And rightly so. Dr. Jamin, have I answered your questions before you leave? I wanted to make sure Dr. Jamin's question was answered from earlier. About 20 minutes ago he asked a question. I told him I was going to answer the question. Arnold Smith saying people are tired of corrupt politicians. I totally understand that. I agree. I myself, I'm fed up with it. It should never be allowed to happen. Okay? Richard Smith is over in Nova Scotia, Canada, saying, y'all take Canada, please. Change Justin Trudeau's position, please. I wish we would. President Trump threatened Trudeau and taking over Canada as the 51st state and making Mexico the 52nd state. Dr. Jamin, thank you. Apparently I answered all of his questions. Thank you much, Dr. Jamin, you absolutely are welcome here to be here at 6 p.m. tonight. We want you here. Please subscribe to this channel, guys. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please do so. And those folks that are subscribed, please check your subscriptions because we lost several people during the past 3 days. YouTube doesn't like me. I understand. I don't really give a flying rat's frosty keister what they do or don't like. But they do unsubscribe people all the time. During our Saturday broadcast, we had 18,000 people by the time we quit. What do we have today? Far from that. We have 500 people watching this broadcast right now. Not 1,800. YouTube doesn't like me. I really don't care. But I'm going to continue to tell the truth, period. I refuse to tell a lie. I refuse to cover anything up. I refuse to put anything on this air that's not vetted. I refuse. No, it'll be Eastern Time. Dr. Jamin is asking CST, and yes, my mods have been instructed to ask people to not use capital letters, because YouTube puts up information that has said that if people use capital letters, all capital letters in their chat, that YouTube has the right to take those people down. And last year, we had a YouTube moderator here in our chat, and they removed people from our chat. They removed people from YouTube. Okay? So please, folks, don't use capital letters. You can use a capital letter at the beginning of a word or the beginning of a sentence, but please limit your use of capital letters. I don't want you taken off the air. I don't want your chat taken down. Lama's Light is asking, what happens to us if they find a nuclear device? They will try to find that nuclear device and make it inert. They will try to capture that nuclear device and disable it. Now, what I'm going to answer in Lama's Light's question may not be popular. I'm going to propose another question. What if that nuclear device goes off? People are going to get killed. People will get killed. And I know that's not a popular thing to say. But I'm just telling you the truth. People are going to die. People are going to get injured as well. I don't know how many thousand people will get killed. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people will get injured. But that's a fact. It's a fact. It's just like these earthquakes we've been talking about on our program for years. Cascadia, for example. The United States Geological Survey is projecting 1,500 people die as a result of a 9.0, 10.0 magnitude earthquake in the Pacific Northwest. I'm sorry, USGS, your numbers are bad. We have millions of people living in that short area between Vancouver, Canada, which is also going to be affected, and Oregon. But USGS is only thinking about those people in the Pacific Northwest. What they're not telling everybody, and I keep talking about this. I keep talking about this day after day on this channel, or at least week after week on this channel. That 9.0, 10.0, Cascadia megathrust earthquake is going to be felt all the way up to Alaska and all the way down south through Vancouver Island, Vancouver, Canada, Washington, Oregon, and California, all the way down to northern Mexico, and all the way across the entire continental United States and Canada. That earthquake is going to be felt across the entire continent. And yet, USGS is only saying, oh, there's only going to be 1,700 people killed. Really? Really? What the earthquake doesn't kill, the tsunami will. I've said this I don't know how many times. My dear friend Rebecca Griffiths in New Mexico is asking, would she feel it in New Mexico? Yes. You would feel some part of that earthquake in New Mexico. Michael Kearney is asking if a small nuclear vessel exploded on the ground level. I figure 100 miles. At least 100 miles. Airborne much further. And then, on top of the nuclear device, what else happens when a nuclear weapon is detonated in the air, above ground? We may also see an EMP, electromechanical pulse. An electromechanical pulse. Electromagnetic pulse. That will render all vehicles, all radios, inert. You'll send the United States back to the 1800s. And then, Michael Kearney is also saying here in the chat, and then the wind carries that nuclear radiation anywhere the wind wants it to go. If that nuclear device is detonated far enough high in the atmosphere, then the jet stream will carry those radiation particles across the entire country, eastbound. The jet stream only flows west to east. Okay? And then Sergey says massive fires. Absolutely. Rebecca Griffith is asking, are the drones a distraction of something? No. I don't believe that's the case. I do not believe the drones are tasking for anything but what they're doing, sniffing for nuclear radiation. Okay? Richard Smith has to go. We're going to get out of here as well. Thank you, Richard, for being here. I appreciate it. I appreciate Hurricane Heather here. Hurricane Heather is one of my best friends. She's asking what happened. Heather, at the beginning, I built a story here about why we're seeing the drones. I've actually shown you pictures of where the drones are all across this country and all around the world. I also played 3 videos by a builder of drones that supplies drones for the military. I believe, again, these drones are sniffing for a nuclear device or multiple nuclear devices around the country. Just to give a short minute synopsis. Back in 1989, when the Berlin Wall fell, President Reagan negotiated a deal with Russia about nuclear devices. At the time, Ukraine had nuclear devices on its soil, and Putin wanted them back. Well, guess what? There are now 80 nuclear devices somewhere. There are 80 nuclear devices missing. And I believe they're sniffing for them now. Carla Max is saying they're made of lithium. No, they're not. No, they're not. Anyway, that's our story for this morning. I will be back on the air just after 6 p.m. this evening to give you more information about this, and we're going to be talking about earthquakes as well. So if you have questions, please come back on this program just after 6 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. I thank you all for being here. Most of yesterday after my Sunday school program, I spent gathering information for this program tonight. And I gave you some information last night as well. Please, folks, please come back after 6 p.m. tonight, and I hope to answer more questions. In fact, at the beginning of tonight's program, I'll be asking for those questions. Then we will get into the meat of the program after that. Georgia Shad from California is saying in the chat that the government needs to tell the truth. Yes, we can handle the truth. Not telling us is making it worse. Yes, I believe the government knows exactly what's going on. I truly believe in my heart of hearts that the government does know what's going on, but doesn't want to say. And that's wrong. That is dead wrong. Okay? Again, we will be back on the air this evening, just after 6 p.m. this evening, Eastern Time. Please join us then. I care for you. I love you. I worry for everybody. I am praying for this country, and I'm praying for each one of you. I hope to see you then. 6 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. Have a good night, everybody. Much love. Have a good day, I should say. Much love. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. See you soon. Please also bring your friends, tell your friends and everybody you know, your family, extended family, everybody, about this program tonight. I want to see a packed house. We'll see you then. Good night.